Good morning. I am Renee Kubiatis, the Anti-Poverty Program Director for New Jersey Citizen Action. Welcome to everyone joining us this morning, and thank you to Senator Booker and his team for putting today's event together, highlighting what has been a transformational investment in families. What's more, the child tax credit offers a strong return on investment. Last year, it kept 3.7 million children out of poverty by giving working families access to critical resources. These resources can provide protective factors to children for longer-term health, mental health, education, and economic mobility outcomes. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our great Senator Cory Booker to talk about the importance of the child tax credit and why he fights so hard for New Jersey families.
Renee, I'm so grateful for that introductory words and so grateful for you and your leadership. I really want to express my appreciation for New Jersey Citizen Action writ large, not just for helping to organize this event, but you all have been such an impactful force in really organizing, advocating for, and changing New Jersey, both at the state level and empowering my work with Senator Menendez at the federal level. I want to thank everyone who's joining us this morning to discuss this historic tax cut. It's probably one of the most significant policies to come out of Washington in US history, because we've never before seen this much of a reduction in child poverty. Not to mention, as we know in New Jersey, so many people who are quote unquote middle class, working class, are just struggling to make ends meet and face financial stressors and pressures and more. And so I'm excited that, and I was talking to the White House last night, that we had Congress and the White House make changes to the child tax credit. It provided 90% of families in our nation, 82% of families here in New Jersey, $300 per month per child in their household under 6, and $250 a month for every child that was from 6 to 17. This was something that me and Senators Bennett from Colorado, Senator Brown from Ohio, Senator Warnock, who we talked to when he was senator-elect, as soon as we saw those two senators get elected in Georgia, that got us to a majority in the Senate, and we knew we had the House of Representatives, we went to work with the administration. And as the president's chief of staff said, it wasn't on their original policy agenda, but after conversations with them about how impactful this would be if we could get into the American Recovery Act, it became a part of the president's agenda and something in my conversations with him that he's most proud of. This policy has helped families in such practical ways, putting food on people's tables, helping people relieve the stress of paying for rent or mortgage, helping to offset the expenses. And we all know how expensive it is to raise a child. So from groceries to diapers to school supplies, frankly, to the cost of after-school activities or just basic childcare. It is outrageous. In fact, I think it's a moral obscenity that we live in a nation that is the wealthiest, not just in the world now, the wealthiest in the history of humanity, yet this wealthy nation has 1 in 6 of its children living in poverty. And again, that poverty line is a federal poverty line. In New Jersey, if we were being realistic about what it would take to meet the needs of your family, that poverty line would be a lot higher, because so many New Jersey families are one car accident, one unforeseen medical expense away from having to miss a mortgage payment or miss a rental payment. And there's too many people in this country, in this wealthy country, who are working harder and harder and still feeling the financial stress. And so I love the fact that this policy has been powerfully impactful and set us on a path for reducing poverty, for empowering families. Poverty is literally, this is not rhetorically, it is a form of violence, because studies after study has shown that children who live in poverty have higher stress hormones. It affects brain development. One child poverty expert describes those stress hormones that are constantly released in a child's brain growing up in poverty as similar to the feeling that an adult would have after a car crash. That adult was having a car crash every single day. We are hearing from scientists about the results of the groundbreaking research released just this week that show that these cash assistance payments to low-income families actually improve the brain activity of infants, highlighting the vital importance of this transformative impact in addressing poverty. And we need to know that everybody needs to know that this is not about an investment in one child. This is about an investment in our communities, in our society, because every dollar invested in raising a child above the poverty level saves Americans $7, because children in poverty have higher healthcare costs, have lower lifetime productivity costs, are more likely to get involved in the police or end up in our criminal justice system. This is about making sure we are investing in society and the genius of our children. You never know when a child is given more opportunity, what that genius could produce. They could become a critical healthcare worker. They could become an inventor. They could be someone who creates jobs in our economy. The greatest natural resource in any nation now that we live in a global knowledge-based economy, the greatest natural resource that any community has is the genius of our children. And genius is equally distributed. As many geniuses are being born in Camden and Newark as they are in Cherry Hill or Summit, New Jersey. And so we have to make sure that these CTC payments, which are vital, I believe, in not only reducing the burden of poverty, but in releasing the potential of so many families, we have to keep them going. We already have seen that the Center on Poverty has estimated that the child tax credit has kept millions of kids out of poverty. The data is clear. The tax cut did what policymakers and advocates said it would do when it was enacted. It gave middle and low income and struggling families some of their hard-earned tax dollars back, reversing this trend we saw in previous years where all the tax cuts coming out of Washington disproportionately benefited the wealthiest of the wealthy. We saw wealth at the upper 5% of our nation grow stratospherically. Our entire nation is better when you invest your tax cuts in working families, in low-income families, in people struggling. And we know that when you do that, folks who get that tax cut, they spend it. So we know that it actually has helped to create more jobs. Estimates say that it's supported over 500,000 new jobs. We see this at today's reports about the growth of our economy with over 6% annualized GDP growth in the last quarter. Why is that? Well, families have more resources. They're investing those resources in critical needs, which fuels our economy. And so what's frustrating to me, and I'll be frank with this group, with this family of New Jerseyans, that despite the impact this program has made, the indisputable impact it's had on the brain health of our children all the way to creating jobs, families won't receive this assistance going forward because the temporary changes Congress made last year have not been extended. We are now in a month here in January where people are not seeing that monthly CTC check. And so we're in negotiations right now. Again, my last conversation after 9 p.m. last night with the White House talking about strategy on this issue. We are doing everything we can to get this tax cut extended, but I'm telling you, it is not a fight that is necessarily one we're going to win. We need everybody. And so I am a product, when I was jogging this morning around the Central Ward of Newark, New Jersey, and getting stopped by my neighbors who remember the days 25 years ago when we started with this vision that every community has worth, every community has value. It's one of the reasons I went to Washington, D.C., and I'm just grateful that I am sort of bonded with people in New Jersey that understand that our fights, even at the most local level, the Central Ward of Newark, our fights at the county and the state level really do empower change on the federal level. And so I just want to, again, thank everybody here on this call for this critical conversation. And I want to turn it back now to Renee.
Thank you, Senator Booker, for those on-point remarks. I can attest to the impacts of poverty on a child's and a person's brain, and abnormal fight or flight response, having grown up in poverty and on welfare in Camden County, as well as working in allyship with many low-income and homeless people for almost 2 decades now. Now let me introduce Kimberly Noble, Professor of Neuroscience of Education in the Teachers College of Columbia University, and Catherine Magnuson, Director of the Institute for Research on Poverty, and Vilas Achievement Professor of Social Work at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, who can talk more about this. Professors Noble and Magnuson have exciting new research that shows the importance of policies like the child tax credit to the well-being and outcomes for children. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Noble.
Thank you
Professor
so much, Renee, and thank you so much, Senator, for those moving words. We're really delighted to be here to share today with you the results of a new study that was just released earlier this week. So, of course, we've known for a very long time that growing up in poverty puts children at risk for all of the kinds of outcomes that the Senator so eloquently spoke about, including more recently, neuroscientists have even linked poverty to differences in children's brain development. But before this research, we haven't been able to say clearly whether poverty was causing those differences or whether poverty was just associated with those differences. And of course, there are many people out there who would say, well, it's not poverty, it's all the things associated with poverty, or even the choices parents are making. Now, regardless of where you sit ideologically on that question, as scientists, we have the power to actually conduct a randomized control trial to really get at the crux of the issue. Now, of course, you can't randomize families to living in poverty or not, but what you can do is take a group of mothers living with low income and randomize them to receive different levels of cash support. And that's what we've done in this study. So we found that after just 1 year of monthly unconditional cash support given to mothers with low income, their infants already showed patterns of more fast-paced brain activity in key regions of the brain that support thinking and learning. So let me take you back a little bit to how we designed the study and how we came to that conclusion. So back in the spring of 2018, we began recruiting 1,000 mothers living with low incomes very shortly after they gave birth, just 1 or 2 days later, and we recruited them right there in the postpartum wards of their birth hospitals. We recruited these mothers from communities in 4 metropolitan areas around the United States. Now, upon enrolling in the study, these mothers were told that they would receive a monthly unconditional cash gift that they would be free to spend however they like, no strings attached. But importantly, we divided the moms into 2 groups randomly. So the mothers in the group that we termed the high cash gift group are receiving $333 a month. And the mothers in the group that we termed the low cash gift group are receiving $20 a month. And we chose those amounts very carefully. So work by my social science colleagues like Dr. Magnuson and others have suggested that a difference of around $4,000 a year, which is what that $333 a month amounts to, has been associated with higher school achievement as kids get older. And of course, we never could have dreamed that we would be in the land of Build Back Better and discussing the expanded child tax credit when we began planning this study almost a decade ago. We did even then have a sense that this amount may bear some policy relevance, calculating that it was similar in magnitude to other social services and benefits that mothers struggling with low income might qualify for. So we thought it was an amount both likely to move the needle and that would hold relevance for policymakers. And so by tracking the differential impact of poverty reduction on children's trajectories early in childhood, we can actually say something about the causal impact of poverty reduction on young children's brains and minds. And so this initial study reports the impact of the first year of these unconditional cash gifts on children's brain activity. And we measured their brain activity by traveling into their homes and conducting something called electroencephalography, or EEG. So what's EEG? It basically involves putting a stretchy cap with little discs called electrodes on the children's heads. And you can think of those electrodes much like microphones that are able to record activity in the brain. Now, we're not mind readers, we don't know what a child is thinking, but we are able to measure how quickly the brain cells are sending electrical signals to each other. And that's important because we know that the speed of those brain signals tends to increase as kids get older, and also tends to be associated with the subsequent development of skills necessary for school readiness. And so we predicted that mothers, the infants of the mothers in the high cash gift group would show more fast-paced brain activity than the infants of the mothers in the low cash gift group. And that's exactly what we report in these initial findings. So after 1 year of monthly unconditional cash support, the infants of the mothers receiving $333 a month showed more fast-paced brain activity in key brain regions necessary for the development of thinking and learning. Now, I'm a neuroscientist and pediatrician. I'm not a policy expert. So for the implications of the study, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Professor Catherine Magnuson.
Thank you, Kim. First, I just want to take a moment and tell everyone how grateful we are to the mothers who are part of our study and involved with our project. We are humbled to be able to learn from them and with them the importance of what cash support means to their families and for their children's development. As Kim said, when we started this project 10 years ago, we had absolutely no idea that we would have findings coming out in such a time as this, when people are fighting to continue for the cash support for children in the way that they are. That said, our cash is different. The unconditional gift we're giving moms is different from the child tax credit in some important ways that we like to point out. First, it's not quite as generous. All families in our study are getting the same amount of $333 a month. We know that for the child tax credit, of course, families are getting more when they have more children. Our money is also given to families on a debit card, and it's branded with a For My Baby. And we know that the sources of money that families get, where it comes from, whether it's the IRS or our debit card, can make a difference in how it's spent. Nonetheless, we think our findings, as they are with respect to improvements or increases in brain activity, and the work of many scholars across this country, as Senator Booker said, that have found that it increases well-being, it's reducing poverty, it's reducing evictions, it's enabling families to pay their bills and take care of their basic needs. All of that research we feel really points to the incredible importance of making sure that these policy discussions focus on not just how much it's going to cost our country, but how much it's going to benefit the communities, the families, and from where we sit, Kim and I, the children. This is really a policy that can make profound difference for families, and that really needs to be a part of the conversations about the child tax credit and other cash transfer programs as well. We know there are lots of ways in which benefits affect families. Renee, I'll turn it back to you.
Senator Booker, did you want to jump in here too?
I just want to say, like, snap my fingers and say to these folks who are so dedicated to really looking at the evidence and the science, that this just underscores the moral urgency of this. We are a society that has a poverty of empathy and understanding of the real impact of these, and again, the cash payments is one word. I simply say people getting their resources back, because we are all, even the lowest income Americans, are paying taxes, whether it's sales taxes, which are regressive taxes. We are all putting money into the common good. And if we really have that idea that we're going to be competitive in a global context, we should be doing everything to support the well-being of our families. Well, here is even more evidence as presented by these two extraordinary people about the economic urgency, the creating deeper, more beloved community ideals, and to me, highlighting the moral urgency. This is not about charity. This is not about somehow sacrificing for low-income people. No, this is about a society doing what's best for the thriving of our own society, the economic well-being of our overall society. So thank you, Renee, for giving me a chance to just highlight that.
Thank you. And what better than to hear from parents themselves about this economic and moral imperative. I've had the pleasure of knowing Lena McKnight from Newark for several years now. She is a hardworking single mother of 3 girls. Alina, can you share how the child tax credit helped your family?
Hi there, thank you. Because the child tax credit, we were able to make payments. We were able to keep up with essentials, like ensuring that the internet or the Wi-Fi was working because of their school. They were going to school virtually at one point. And when school opened up, so many school supplies was being asked for them to just buy and bring to school. Just to have them buy these supplies that were needed, I couldn't have them fall behind because of that. So because we are still in a pandemic, also, this has been very helpful. I was able to cover graduation dues, I was able to cover food, toiletries, even sanitary napkins. I have 3 daughters. Like, this is a big deal. Eyeglasses. I had to get my daughter's eyeglasses, clothing, shoes, things that they grew out of that I had to like keep up with them. We had to keep warm during the winter and keep cool during the summer. It was very, very helpful. Although I do work full time, I was able to get their needs and wants without me having to get like a second or third job, which I would normally have done before the pandemic. So being now that we are in a pandemic, goodness, it was like a big deal. So my children come first in my house. Their well-being and their mental health is really important for them to be very healthy and stable. They need to focus on school. They need to focus on their future. And this has been very just comforting to know that there's help out there for me to help my kids. You know, this is about them. This is about their well-being. This is about them moving forward. It's a peace of mind. Here I am paying for bus transportation so they can go to school and back home. This is something that they have in the back of their mind, that they can depend on me, their mom. Being a single mother, it's hardship already. This definitely helps them move forward. We cannot take that child tax credit. We cannot cut it.
So much, Alina. Now we are joined by Margarita Rodriguez, who is a single mother of 3 children living in Passaic. She is joined by Rosa Lopez from Make the Road, New Jersey, who will be translating.
Okay. Margarita, cuando quieras empezar.
Oh, ok. Hola, mi nombre es Margarita, soy miembro de Make the Road, New Jersey. Vivo en la ciudad de Passaic.
Hello, my name is Margarita Rodriguez. I'm a member of Make the Road, New Jersey, and I live in the city of Passaic. And as Renee says, my name is Rosa, and I'm just translating for Margarita.
Por los pasados 20 años he vivido en New Jersey, ha sido mi hogar. Acá es donde trabajo, pago mis impuestos y donde he creado una familia.
For the past 20 years, New Jersey has been my home. This is where I work, where I pay my taxes, and where I have raised a family.
Mis hijos tienen 6 y 16 años de edad y como muchos de otras madres solteras y sobrevivientes de violencia doméstica, ellos dependen solamente de mí para tener comida, techo y seguridad.
My sons are now 6 and 16 years old, and like many other single mothers survivors of domestic violence, they depend solely on me for food, shelter, and safety.
Desde la llegada de la pandemia, mi familia y yo hemos sido excluidos de toda asistencia solo por mi estatus migratorio.
Since the arrival of the pandemic, my family and I have been excluded from all COVID assistance only because of my immigration status.
Antes de que el crédito tributario por hijos entrara en efecto, yo tenía recibos de luz, de renta atrasados por meses. Por más que trataba de pagar, no podía completar. Este era un ciclo difícil de salir.
Before the child tax credit went into effect, I had utility and rent bills delayed for months. As much as I tried to pay it, I couldn't. It was a difficult cycle to get out.
Cada vez que yo enfermaba o cuando tenía que llevar a mis hijos al médico, gastaba en taxis o en medicamentos, o cuando cerraban las escuelas por contagio de COVID, significaba que yo perdería días de trabajo.
Every time that I got sick or when I had to take my children to the doctor, I had to spend extra money on taxis or medicine. Or when schools were closed due to COVID infections, that meant that I will lose days of work.
Esto quiere decir que cuando falto a trabajo no recibo pago completo, lo cual conlleva tener que escoger entre tener techo y medicamento o comida para mis hijos.
This means that when I miss work, I don't receive full pay, which leads to having to choose between shelter, medicine, or food for my children.
Por los pasados 6 meses, el CTC nos ha dado un pequeño respiro a familias como la mía.
But for the past 6 months, the CTC has given families like mine so much needed assistance.
A nosotros nos ayudó a pagar parte de nuestros recibos atrasados, comprar ropa de invierno, útiles escolares para mis hijos y comprar alimentos.
This money had helped us to pay part of our bills, buy winter clothes for our children, food, and school supplies.
Mi hijo más pequeño necesitaba lentes, los cuales yo no podía pagar y el seguro no cubría todo el costo. El dinero del CTC me ayudó a poder pagar sus lentes que él tanto necesita.
My younger son needed glasses that I couldn't afford. The insurance did not cover the entire cost, but the money from the CTC helped me to pay for these glasses that he much needed.
El dinero del CTC era un gran apoyo para mi familia. Lamentablemente, ese respaldo se nos ha removido injustamente.
The money from the CTC was of great support for me and my family. Unfortunately, that support has been unfairly removed.
Es importante continuar el CTC porque aún vivimos en una pandemia global que ha afectado en gran mayoría a personas de comunidades negras, inmigrantes y clase trabajadora.
It's important to continue the CTC because we still live in a global pandemic that has affected the vast majority of people from Black, immigrant, and working class communities.
Familiares como la mía son precisamente las personas llamadas trabajadores esenciales, quienes permiten que otras familias puedan tener servicios, comida y transporte. No se nos puede aplaudir por nuestro trabajo y a la misma vez remover programas que podrían potencialmente salvarnos de desalojos o inseguridad. Lamentaría para nosotros, pero nada para nuestros hijos.
Families like mine are precisely the people called essential workers who allowed other families to have services, care, food, and transportation. We cannot be celebrated for our work and at the same time remove programs that could potentially save us and our children from evictions and food insecurity.
Es injusto que tengamos que escoger si pagar nuestros medicamentos o la calefacción. Es injusto que nuestros hijos se vayan a la cama con hambre. Es injusto que nuestros hijos vivan sabiendo que podemos ser desalojados en cualquier momento.
It is unfair that we have to choose whether to pay for medicine or heat. It is unfair that our children have to go to bed hungry. And it is unfair that our children have to live knowing that we can get evicted at any time.
Me gustaría que las personas en el poder de decidir sobre el CTC tomen en cuenta los aportes de mi comunidad y piensen en nuestras familias, los hijos e hijas de trabajadores esenciales. No podemos seguir siendo excluidos sin olvidados. Gracias, Senador Booker.
I would like for people in power to decide on the CTC to take into account all the input from my community and to think about our families, the children of essential workers who cannot continue to be excluded and forgotten. Thank you, Senator Booker.
So next, I would like to introduce Stephanie Dawson. She and her husband live in Edison with their 1-year-old daughter. They both work and they struggled to find childcare after their daughter was born. Stephanie, can you talk more about your experience?
Sure. Hi, my name is Stephanie Dawson. I'm a proud member of Moms Rising and a working mom in Edison, as they mentioned. Before I jump in, I would just like to say thank you, Senator Booker, for your tireless leadership on behalf of working families. I appreciate the opportunity to share what the advanced child tax credit payments meant for me and my community, and why it's so important that Congress makes the expansion permanent. So my husband and I welcomed our first child, Lillian, in the summer of 2020. As I'm sure you can imagine, the pandemic has been an incredibly difficult time to become a new parent. Childcare has been, I'd say, our biggest challenge. My husband and I both work full-time, and after 6 months of juggling different options, we realized we needed to find a childcare facility as soon as possible. I already knew from my friends that childcare was hard to come by before COVID, but finding an open slot in the middle of the pandemic felt nearly impossible. Many facilities have shut down, others are operating at reduced capacity, and some were completely out of our budget. Those programs we can find had a wait list that was about 4 months long, which we couldn't wait for. After a lot of searching and stress, we finally found an open spot at a high quality program, but it's pretty far away from our home. We just found an open slot at a closer facility, which makes things a little easier, but the high cost of childcare is a huge burden. We are now going to be paying $1,525 a month just for childcare, which puts a lot of strain on our budget. The thing about having a young child is it comes with so many extra costs, including ones you can't always predict. For example, when my daughter was born, she had a number of food sensitivities and was put on a specialized formula. Our insurance company would not cover this formula, so we were paying about $12 a day just for formula, no solid foods or anything else. I had no idea it could be so expensive. We were relieved when we learned that Congress passed an extension of the child tax credit. That meant $300 a month and would be a huge help for our family. Unfortunately, our tax return was not processed on time, so there was a large delay before we actually started receiving the payments, but once we did, it was a huge help. Our daughter no longer needs formula, but as she grows, our grocery bill is rising, and the CTC helps with that as well as our childcare. I really hope Congress reinstates the advanced monthly payments and makes them permanent. Raising kids is expensive, and investing in kids who are our future should be our top priority. I was deeply disappointed and frustrated when the Senate failed to pass the Build Back Better Act in 2021 and let the CTC expire, especially now with the pandemic still raging. Working families need support. We have been very lucky so far. No one in our household has tested positive for COVID, and our childcare program has been able to stay open, but our daughter is too young to be vaccinated, and the stress is constant. I work for a small company and don't have a lot of paid time off. If we lost childcare or needed to quarantine, I would burn through that within the quarantine period, most likely. There's no way my husband and I can do our jobs and care for an 18-month-old at the same time. It's just not possible. It's a very scary and uncertain time for all of us. Without the CTC, without the CTC, we'd have a lot less breathing room and it would be harder to get ahead on and save. Plus, my husband and I both have student loans. So when the federal student loan payment pause ends, that'll be another source of strain for us. Still, throughout all this, I'm grateful that we've at least kept our jobs and we haven't had to worry about basics like food or shelter. I know for many families and community, that's not the case, as you've heard from the other mothers. I know if my family is struggling with the high cost of raising a young child, other families are struggling even more. The pandemic has pushed many families into poverty, and for them, the CTC is more essential than ever, and its expiration is an emergency. I'm counting on Congress to prioritize the needs of children and working parents. We need the Build Back Better agenda during the pandemic and beyond. I hope Congress will finally invest in paid family and medical leave, affordable childcare, and permanently expanded child tax credit so we can all thrive. Thanks.
Hey, Renee, can I just say real quick, I mean, this is what it's all about. These are three extraordinary people who really, frankly, are more powerful than any data I could give or policy. It's just what's happening, what's really happening to real families in New Jersey and in America. And I'll be blunt with you all. I have conversations with some of my colleagues that, you know, like one of them is saying, well, we need a work requirement. Well, I can tell them the data that we saw in Canada when they started doing their cash assistance program. Workforce participation actually went up among single mothers because they can, again, as we heard the testimony, how hard it is to find childcare, how hard it is to support transportation. You know, somebody, one of my colleagues, I hate to be so candid about it, said to me, well, I'm worried that people are just going to buy drugs. And I just look at them and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, so do we say that when we have, you know, policies like carried interest, which gives wealthy people so much more money? Do we say that they're just going to go out and buy cocaine? Well, you know what? People in America buy drugs. But the reality is overwhelmingly these resources, especially when you look at women raising children, their fundamental purpose in life is to give those children a better life, to give them the great platform. So I'm weary from battle, but the women who just spoke gave me strength. And if I could say something quickly in Spanish, rápidamente en español, Margarita, gracias por todo, por su coraje, fuerza de su alma. Tengo confianza por nuestro país, por nuestros niños. Vamos a tener éxito. Es tan importante porque la situación ahora con nuestros niños es inaceptable. So thank you for your work. I have faith that we're going to be successful. And even if not this moment, the truth is this country, I do believe what King said, that the arc of the moral universe is long and it bends towards justice. And with women like the three that just spoke, you give me strength in the fight. And I think your testimony is so persuasive. So sorry, Renee, to go off so much, but thank you. Gracias por
Thank you
todo.
for those words. Now, Naomi Anderson, the VITA Tax Preparation Director for New Jersey Citizen Action, will provide an overview of services available for families and individuals in New Jersey.
Yay, Naomi.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Renee. So my name is Naomi Anderson from New Jersey Citizen Action, and I am the director of our VITA TCE program here in the state of New Jersey. So today we're talking about the child tax credit, and this is one of the things that here at New Jersey, with our tax service, we help a lot of parents, single moms, and husbands and wives, all different categories, even those who are working and not working, to get the child tax credit. The tax season has already started. E-file started on January 24th. This is the first week. We have many clients. New Jersey, we are located in Newark, but we service the entire state. So besides tax preparation, we also offer ITIN applications and renewals, because a lot of families qualify for the child tax credit if they have ITIN numbers, or they have their children that are born here in the United States with a valid Social Security. They do qualify for the child tax credit, and we here at Citizen Action, we assist them to get this credit. Also, due to different changes in the tax law, the 2019 income, if your income is very low in 2021, can be used to help you get the maximum credit for the earned income credit, which is the EIC. The EIC income has changed. They have increased. For someone without children, it has moved from like $538 to now $1,502 for this tax period. Now, for the federal, the tax EIC, earned income credit, increases started from age 19. So in the past, if you didn't have a child, it would start at age 26. So due to the federal changes and the law and our senators, and they're working very hard for the entire country, it begins at age 19 if you don't have a child, and there is no ending. So in the past, when you become 65, 66 older, you no longer, if your income is low, you no longer qualify for EIC. But for this tax period and moving on, they do qualify because it starts at 19 and there's no age limit. Here in the state of New Jersey, the EIC begins at age 18. So that's a good change for, there's a lot of young people out there, they don't have any families, they're working hard, they go to school, they're trying to do their best for themselves, so now they do qualify here in the state of New Jersey. Just want to let you know, below is our, on the slide is our number, which is 888-829-3111. You can call us. We offer service via drop-off. We're not seeing clients face-to-face, but we offer service via drop-off or remote. So how our remote works is that you'll call the office, they'll take your information, and we do one-to-one where we send you a secure link. The link is for you only. So there's not a portal where you submit all your information. It's just per client, and we're able to assist you to get your taxes done anywhere in the state of New Jersey where you are located. So give us a call. We're here to help you to get the EIC, the child tax credit, ITINs number, whatever you need. Citizen Action also offers eviction prevention program to help families who are unable to pay their rent. So we help with that, and our number and our email is right below where you can reach out to us and contact us. And for those who know about the the Affordable Care Act, which is health insurance, for here in the state, it ends on January 31st. So this is when the open enrollment period ends. You can give us a call. Also, you can email us. For any other further services from New Jersey Citizen Action, our website information is below, it's here on the slide. You can check us out for all our services. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Naomi. And I just wanted to add too that for folks who are in deep poverty, who are receiving TANF or SSI, who may not have been aware of the child tax credit last year and didn't claim it, you can certainly come to Citizen Action and we can help you to file and get those benefits that you may have missed out on before. I just wanted to thank you, Senator Booker, again, for all your incredible work and your leadership, and all of our really great speakers today. Senator Booker, did you have any final remarks you wanted to make?
Look, again, I want to thank everybody who participated in this forum, and I just want to offer everybody encouragement as we continue the work. We have to make sure that America's tax code reflects America's values. And this is not going to be easy. We all know the forces that are, I say, corrupt our politics. One of the reasons why I don't take any corporate money or the kind of money that I think is really undermining our American politics is to make sure that we can continue to be a nation where the people's will really prevails. This is an incredibly popular program right now that we are fighting for. This is not about selfish, about helping one part of society, not the others. This is about the well-being of our nation as a whole. Will our country be a beloved community where people thrive and have high well-being and have really a nation that supports families, that supports children and invests in our future? So thank you, everyone. Meeting this particular moment is just not going to be easy. It's really going to require, like patriots before us, a lot of commitment and even a lot of sacrifice. It's going to require us raising our voices and increasing our advocacy. But again, I'm confident that we can be victorious. And I just want to once again, thank you all for inspiring me today and fortifying my heart and having the grit to continue this effort as we move in Congress towards hopefully passing Build Back Better, which will, I hope, principal parts will be the child tax credit, reducing prescription drug costs, reducing child care costs. I haven't given up on paid family leave. These are critical elements that we know make a big difference in our society. So thank you for coming together today to talk about that, the child tax credit.
Thank you, Senator Booker, for your leadership again. And thank you to all the speakers again. The stories and research we've heard underscore the need for continued child tax credit in a final Build Back Better package without work requirements. In the US, we have this term working poor, and I've been saying for a very long time that in the richest nation in the world, those two words should never be heard together. If you're working, it just makes sense that you should be able to afford basic needs for yourself and your family. Senator Booker said it well earlier that the child tax credit is people getting their resources back. We thank Senator Booker again for championing the child tax credit and so many other important policies to working families, and look forward to our full New Jersey legislative delegation really pushing hard for this critical anti-poverty program. Thank you all for joining us this morning.